Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and welcome to the sermon for Tazria Metzora at Hampstead Garden Suburb Synagogue. A number of years ago, I had the life-changing experience of visiting Jonathan Pollard in prison. Pollard, a legend of our people, sat in prison for over 30 years for passing classified U.S. intelligence information to Israel. Why did I go? Well, Pollard was working on an engineering concept that he wanted to share with the world outside. I had an engineer in my community who was willing to listen and experiment with Pollard's idea. We went to visit him, and the rest is for another story. But when I think of Pollard, and I think of the years he spent in prison, I ask myself, what lessons can we learn for our current experience? We're all sitting in what some have dubbed Corona prison, here in isolation, stuck in our homes. How will we respond to the environment that the Almighty has placed each and every one of us in? In this week's parasha, we learn about a certain affliction called Tirat. Now, it was a supernatural affliction. One went to the Kohen and one was diagnosed. First, you were put in quarantine in the house for 7 days. You came back. You were tested again by the Kohen. If the Kohen deemed that you had the virus, you were sent outside the camp. You were there in isolation. Now, not complete isolation. You were there with other Metzoraim, other lepers. And then, when you finally healed, you would come back and join the rest of the community. What are the messages from Tirat that we can take for the current crisis? The Torah tells us, Adam ki yiyeh b'or basaro, a person, when there will be on the flesh of his skin, this malady. Now, why does the Torah use the word Adam? Could have used Ish. There are so many words for person. Says the Zohar that the term Adam applies to our highest level of being. It refers to Adam in his primordial state, in the Garden of Eden, prior to sin, when he was the storehouse of all of these souls for all generations to come. That's what's represented by the word Adam. So here's the first idea I want to share with you. And I want to give you examples from two other heroes of history who sat in prison and emerged as stronger, more perfect individuals. First of all, let me share with you an idea from Nelson Mandela's Long Walk to Freedom. Says Mandela, I have found that one can bear the unbearable if one keeps one's spirit strong, even when one's body is being tested. Strong convictions are the secret of surviving deprivation. Your spirit can be full even when your stomach is empty. Listen to what Natan Sharansky says in Fear No Evil. As a child, I knew almost nothing about the Bible. Biblical tales were full of miracles that my skeptical mind refused to believe. My rest changed everything. The world I recreated in my head turned out to be more powerful and more real than the Lefortovo prison. My bond with Avital was stronger than my isolation, and my inner freedom more powerful than the external bondage. Mysticism turned into reality, and through my prayers I seemed to admit the power of an external force that my rational mind had denied. King David now appeared before me not as a fabled hero or a mystical Superman, but as a live, indomitable soul, tormented by doubts, rising against evil, and suffering from the thought of his own sins. So the first message I want to share with you that we can take from these incredible individuals who sat in real prison, served real time, but what we can take from their lives for our Corona prison is the power of the Spirit to replace our physical constraints. That was the power of us as Adam, the ultimate spirit, close to God, despite everything in our surrounds, the house of all of these souls. Now's the time that we turn to Hashem. Now's the time that we become more spiritual. Now's the time that we reread those biblical tales and ask ourselves, who was King David? What were these struggles? What does it mean to me as an adult? How do I become a more spiritual individual during these times? How do I emerge from Corona prison more spiritually connected? Thought number 2. The Torah says that the Kohen will quarantine the individual for 7 days in his house, and then if you're confirmed to have the virus, he shall dwell alone outside the camp. Says the Malbim that you're only separated from others who have different forms of impurity, but you were there with people who had the tzara'as. You were there to help one another, to be there for one another, because you're all suffering. You're all in the same boat. Let me share with you an idea from Nelson Mandela. Says Mandela, I found solitary confinement the most forbidding aspect of prison life. It would be very hard, if not impossible, for one man alone to resist. I do not know that I could have done it had I been alone. But the authorities' greatest mistake was to keep us together. For together, our determination was reinforced. We supported each other and gained strength from each other. I think about the time that even when Sharansky was in solitary confinement, that they found ways and means to tap on the wall, even if they had to tap on the lavatory, to be able to communicate with one another, to be there for one another, to support one another. And so the second message that will carry us through Corona prison is that we must be there for each other, look out for one another's needs. Even if we can't physically be there for each other, we have to be able to think about, what does everyone else need? How are they suffering? What can I do for my neighbor, for my friend, for someone who has no neighbors or friends? How can we be there to support them? And that will carry us through. Message number 3. When does it all end? So the Netziv says that it only ends when the blemish is no longer present. And so you don't really know. There's no real time limit. Once you're outside the camp, you simply have to wait, and it will be when it will be. Listen to what Sharansky says about people who thought about the end versus people who lived in the present. Writes Sharansky, in time, I understood what a cunning and deadly enemy even hope can be. If you don't see the meaning of the life you are leading this very minute, if it appears only when you live on the hope of rapid changes, then you are in constant danger. I have met people, says Sharansky, who have been weakened from constant disappointments. The only answer is to find the meaning of your current life. The other night we heard from Rabbi Jonathan Dove, who spoke about mindfulness and the importance of living in the moment. That's what Sharansky found organically, that we have to live in the now. Like the Netziv says, we don't know how long this period of isolation will be. We have to live for now. Mindfulness means, can you handle the stresses and problems of your life right at this moment? Don't think about tomorrow. Don't worry about what tomorrow might bring and whether you'll be able to survive the challenges of tomorrow, next week, next month. You'll worry about those then. Today, think about, what does my life look like today? How can I maximize the moment right now? And what does today mean in terms of what the Almighty wants from me right now? If I maximize the moment today, if I think about being the best that I can be in this very moment, then each moment will be a moment of triumph that I can survive Corona prison. Message number 4. We're told that there were 2 lepers, Es and Have, who at one point were following the Israelite camp through the wilderness. And they noticed that there was blood of the coming down the side of the cliff face. And so they raced up to see what was going on. Sure enough, they found that the Amorites had wanted to attack the children of Israel, but God had performed a miracle and closed the mountains upon them so that they were stopped in their vicious tracks. Es and Hav became two heroes of the Torah. Now think about it, originally they were outcasts outside the camp, and now they were recorded forever in the Bible, in the Torah, as people who announced, declared God's salvation. Let me share with you a thought from Nelson Mandela. Says Mandela, prison is designed to break one's spirit and destroy one's resolve. To do this, the authorities attempt to exploit every weakness, demolish every initiative, negate all signs of individuality, all with the idea of stamping out that spark that makes each of us human and each of us who we are. During this time, we may be isolated. We may feel like we're outcast, but you can become an Es and Hav. You can make a difference in history. You can be recorded forever because you've not had your spirit broken. You've not lost your creativity. You've not lost your initiative. Find ways to become stronger. Find ways that you will emerge a better person. And this is what I learned from Pollard when I went to visit him. He didn't simply sit and wait and worry. He said, I want to be able to be creative, be able to sit here and make a difference in the world. Now, that wasn't easy. I mean, he was reading from a library and magazines during a time that everyone else had access to the internet. He had never seen the internet. This was in the 2000s. He'd never seen the internet. So it wasn't maybe what he had hoped it would be, but he made the effort. He said, I'm going to give my creative juices the best opportunity possible. I'm not going to simply let the time pass and then wonder whatever happened to those years of my life. And so, friends, what we ask of ourselves during this Corona prison is, did we just pass the time? Or did you emerge a better person, a stronger person, an individual more able to cope with the challenges of life? Whatever new qualities and skills you decide to master during Corona prison, my blessing to you is that you have grown in some way from this challenging, near impossible experience. May the Almighty free us from Corona prison very soon. On behalf of Rabbi Batya, Rabbi and Rebbetzin Guten Tag, Chazan Avrami and Rachela, Chair Neil Levinson, the honorary officers, council, and staff, I want to wish refuah shalema to all those who need healing. I want to wish long life to all those who need comforting. And I want to wish much strength to each and every one of you. You have the strength. You can become stronger. Shabbat shalom. I'm looking forward very soon to sharing simchas